Jason.
What?
Can you believe all these shitty Marvel Cinematic Universe tier lists we're looking at?
Dude, I'm shaking.
This is terrible. I don't understand how someone could rank these movies in this way. Isn't there anybody out there who can do this properly?
I've been looking, dude. I can't find anybody.
Well, I guess there's one thing we need to do, Jason. Just like Thanos did.
Yeah.
We need to take control. We don't want to, but we have to.
Must be done.
So in the words of Thanos, Jason, we are going to say,
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Good tidings, friends, and welcome to Fine, I'll Do It Myself, our MCU tier list podcast. I'm Mike, and with me as always is my brother Jason. Hello, Jason.
Yo, what is poppin'?
And today, we are covering possibly the most disliked movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thor
probably.
2, The Dark World.
I mean, like, legitimately disliked, not some, like, random bullshit where they, like...
Right.
Yeah.
Not like what people are doing with Miss Marvel right now.
Yeah, or, like, when Captain Marvel came out, that type of shit, yeah.
Right. So, this movie is by far, I think, considered the worst movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We just rewatched it. And interestingly enough, you liked it a lot more than you remembered, and I felt similar to how I felt when I originally watched it.
Yeah, I actually really liked the movie. Like, I didn't feel like there was a lot that was, like, really offensive to me in the movie, like, overall. And there was parts where I was like, okay, this is, like... And especially comparing it to 1, right? Like, when you jump from 1 to 2, like, obviously you miss Avengers, right? And there's definitely some character progression there, but, like, I don't think it was really necessary, like... You can remember easily, like, there's not a whole ton of Thor versus Loki. Like, there's a little bit, right? But right. I just really feel like they, especially comparing it to 1, it really feels like they hit their stride with this movie as far as, like, who the characters are supposed to be, right?
Okay.
And especially comparing it to, like, newer stuff, you can see where this is where it started, I feel like, where, you know, you have Thor feels so much more fleshed out as, like, who... they really want him to be, and even the like symbolism too, where it's like Thor, like what does Thor need to do, right? Like turning down the kingship and stuff, like turning down the throne, like doing all this stuff, like being very like a tortured soul, pretty much, right? Like how he ends up being in Infinity War and Endgame and shit. Like there's a lot of parallels I feel like to it, where I don't know, I really. I felt like it was a pretty good movie, dude. I don't know. I would say, like, obviously, I was gonna ask you if you could send me the full tier list, because like I haven't looked at it in forever, just to like.
Well, I can tell you, this was the only movie in dog shit, and then The Incredible Hulk is an F tier, and then after that, everything is D or higher.
Okay. Like, I would be hard pressed to like. I would honestly kind of feel bad about putting it in C tier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
okay.
It's definitely not lower than C tier for me.
So the tier list, I just pulled it up. It's Thor: The Dark World's in dog shit with What If, which we weren't going to rank anyway.
Yeah, it was just more of a joke.
And then in F tier is The Incredible Hulk and Captain Marvel. And then it's C tier. We skipped E and D just for brevity's sake, and there's not as many movies in the lower part of, in our opinion, at least in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's... Then in C, there's Eternals, Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man 2, and Captain America, the First Soldier.
I think I like this movie more than Eternals, honestly, but we'll get there when we get there.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, let's do the stuff that we talk about first. Yeah. Well, first of all, let's see what we said about it last time. Thor. We have the Dark World. The consensus, if you polled every Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, like in a Family Feud style poll, this would be the worst movie.
Survey says
Thor: The Dark World is the worst movie.
Dog shit.
Now, I have not seen this movie since theaters.
Yeah, me neither.
And I'm not...
Actually, I think I saw it once outside of theater.
I'm not a highly critical person.
Me neither.
Like, I tend to watch a movie and go, that was fun. And then later I develop more opinions on it after, like, reading more or watching it again or whatever. I did not like Thor: The Dark World as I was watching it, which is a big deal for me. Because normally, like I said, it takes a lot for me to go, ooh.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like, for example, when I'm watching like the new Star Wars movies, I wasn't sitting in the theater like mauling in the theater. I was having a good time.
You ended up thinking, okay, maybe I didn't like.
But
those.
then later, I would be like, okay, this didn't make sense. This didn't make sense, or whatever, right? So I'm good at enjoying movies at the theater. It's just a good time as well.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm gonna say dog shit.
Yeah.
I'm putting in dog shit. Hopefully we watch it again and we see it in a better light. But yeah, I mean, this is.
I'm kind of excited to rewatch it.
Yeah. This is the reason this tier exists.
Yeah.
It's for Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, we just said, my point was I'm not a highly critical person, and I don't normally in the moment go, hey, this movie's bad. But while watching the movie in the theater, I said, this is bad. And we put it in dog shit. We didn't really talk a ton about it because neither of us admittedly had seen it in a long time.
Yeah. I would say the biggest sin that this movie commits is that it's just very forgettable.
Yeah.
But I feel like they definitely went like more safe with it.
Well, hold on. Before we get more into it, let's...
Yeah.
The tomato meter. It's got a 66% tomato meter and a 75% audience score, which I was surprised by the audience score because that's still pretty low for a Marvel movie, but that's higher than I imagined because when you hear people talk about this movie, they really dig into it, right?
Well, I wonder where it was at like the first week it was out, right? Because I think you can that changes over time and stuff too. So
right.
I wonder what it was like at like the first week after. I would not be surprised if it was in like the 80s because that's kind of how I feel. I know people didn't
like it, but I kind of want to talk about why I think people didn't like it as much because I watched it and I didn't like it, but I don't think it's as bad as I was remembering or as most people. But anyway, it made $85 million in its opening. Okay. With a budget of $170 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of green screen and shit like that.
However, it went on to make $206 million domestic and $644 million worldwide.
Okay.
So it made way more than its money back.
It still made like 800 or something.
Right. As all these movies do, it made all its money back.
Yeah.
Not surprised there.
We forgot about the trailer.
Here's the trailer.
After all this time, now you come to visit me, brother. Why? To mock.
I need your help. But I wish I could trust you.
If you did, you'd be the fool I always took you for.
Some believe that before the universe, there was nothing. They're wrong. There was darkness, and it has survived.
What's gonna happen?
I gave you my word. I would return for you.
You face an enemy, known only to a few.
Known only to one.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
If we do nothing, they will destroy us.
You even think about betraying him.
I'll kill you. That was from New York.
I like her.
Thor, your bravery will not ease your pain. Your family, your world will be extinguished.
We're running out of time.
The very fabric of reality will be torn apart.
I'll find a way to save us all.
All yours.
Anyone else?
All right, trailer's kind of funky, but whatever. I feel like these Disney Plus trailers are funky. I know we talked about that last episode, but I feel like they're not what I remember trailer-wise.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know. I don't feel like I really watched trailers back then. Anyways.
Yeah, I guess I would see them. You'd still see them on the internet at this point, I feel like.
Right, but like, I think when a trailer drops now, it's like, oh shit, did you see the new trailer? Like back then, it still was not that big a deal. It was like if you saw it before a movie, you saw it like if you were going to go see some other movie and you saw the trailer for that movie, like it was a thing. But
I feel like it was a little bit, but you're right, it's not the same as it is now. So something about this movie, I kind of want to paint the picture for people about how this movie came out, because this movie came out in 2013. It was released in 2013, and so this was the second movie of Phase 2. Phase 1 was, all the movies leading up to Avengers, and then the first movie of Phase 2 was Iron Man 3, and then this movie came out, right? So part of what I think happened here, Jason, is we had Avengers, which people loved, and I still love. I still think it's one of the best movies in this pantheon of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And then you had Iron Man 3, which is a little more divisive. Some people are on the left side of it like it's great. Some people are on the right side of it saying it's terrible. That one's a little more divisive movie. And then this movie comes out. Okay? The second movie of Phase 3. And we're in the midst of Marvel starting to try and branch out in TV. They got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And they're teasing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the Marvel universe, right? They're teasing that. Like, Samuel Jackson shows up in the first episode. And when movies come out, that week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to tie into the movie. They made a big deal about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this movie, I remember seeing this movie in theaters. I was excited for it because I really liked Thor and Loki and Avengers. It just kind of, like you said earlier, was that it's a bit forgettable.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, and
very
like I said,
Marvel movie villain.
Yeah, in the theater, I was very upset about it. And then I went to watch that episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
And, they, reference that they have to go do cleanup in Greenwich. That's literally the connection, right? And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck was this big deal about? And then later on, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had pretty good ties into Captain America 2. But, man, what a bunch of malarkey. What a bunch of crap. Right?
They baited you.
So I think Marvel had this run of these movies that were pretty good to great, and then this movie was just kind of mid.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only time, with maybe Eternals being the exception, where that's been the case, right?
I think really the worst part of the movie, to me, the two bad things about the movie is the intro. Because they just explain it to you. It's not even
the intro's bad. There's
not even it's just a history lesson, but to the audience, it's not even oh, he was teaching that this happened to Thor, baby Thor and Loki, Kid Thor and Kid Loki or whatever,
no,
right?
He was just talking about it.
He's just mansplaining to me. But I feel like the visuals were cool in the intro, but it felt very what? This is kind of weird. It's not how you expect a Marvel movie. Imagine when you're in the theater and the dun 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 starts playing, you're like, oh shit, here we go, right? And then this wet fart comes on and you're like, what the hell, bro? It's very rough.
Okay, so you said the visuals were cool, and I agree that most of the visuals are cool, but I think they keep it's the dark world of the elves, right? The dark elves where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the worst set in Marvel cinematic history. I just think it's supposed to look dark, but I just think it's lame. It's just you can tell it's a green screen. It doesn't there's nothing interesting about it. And I get that's part of the point,
It's just barren, yeah.
But it's just bad. And when I was watching the intro, it's funny you bring up the intro being bad. I wrote, here are my 3 notes. I wrote RKO because at one point...
I literally wrote that note. I was going to say, the one saving grace is the dude RKOing the cursed dude.
And then I wrote down King Boar snooze. Because King Boar is making me fall asleep right now. And then I wrote the scene where they ask him what to do with the Aether is literally the scene from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like King Boar could have turned to the camera and went, "No." And it would have been the same shit, right?
I mean,
and I was like,
it's not the same, but yeah. Like,
you get what I'm saying? It's shot the same.
Can be destroyed, right? Like,
it's shot the same though. Like it's literally shot like, and a lot of that
the
scene
camera
is
angle
shot the same,
and that type of shit. Yeah.
Like the way the armies are fighting is shot similar. Like
it invokes
it's almost
it a
like,
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they were
the
like,
floor looks like Mordor. Yeah.
It's like Alan Taylor, the director, just saw like the first Lord of the Rings movie and was like, "Yo," you know what I mean? Like,
honestly, yeah, the whole thing does ring like that too, with him talking over it and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just basically the beginning of Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god. Yeah, I did not even think about that.
It's almost they were like, "What do we do with the intro?" Well, we got to explain these dark elves. Hey, have you guys seen this movie called Lord of the Rings? And they were like. Also,
something has changed.
I'm jumping ahead, but the cursed Malekith is the main guy with the white hair.
Yeah, and then his second in command dude.
His second in command guy that they turn into the cursed guy.
Yeah.
He's just basically an Uruk-hai.
Kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just like, man, this is like I get it's
like
dark
Lurtz.
elves, so it's like it's all taken from the same shit, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, come on, man. Like, anyway, the intro. I agree with you that the intro is literally the worst part of the movie.
Yeah, I'd say the intro, and then honestly, the only other thing I don't like about the movie is Odin. Odin feels like he's a completely different character than in the first movie.
Yeah, he's a little off tonally.
He's just a shitty ass king at this point. It's like when he woke up from his Odin sleep. He woke up on the wrong side of the Odin bed, dude.
Yeah, he did.
It doesn't feel like he has disdain for his sons. Like, he's like, understands why they're messing up in the ways that they're messing up. But it feels like he just hates Loki's ass. And, like he's like, the only reason you're even alive is your mom, right? But, like, not in a way where it's like, you think he's just saying that just to... like try to get to Loki or whatever. Like you believe his ass. Like he does. Right. He would have put him to death.
The missing context here is Avengers, right? Where Loki did some horrible shit.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to remember we're coming straight off that. And so Odin, as we find out in the next movie, hasn't always been this honorable king.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I think that starts to show a little bit, but you're right. It does feel tonally off.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the Wong fortify your minds quote belongs to Odin again, because he does it twice in this movie, like he did. But you're not king.
Yeah.
This one to Loki goes, your birthright was to die as a child. Like that one got me. And then later he goes, with him and Thor arguing about how many people need to die in order to stop the Dark Elves.
As many as
are needed. Like that, dude. And I was like, okay. Like, yes, he feels tonally off, but I still love Anthony Hopkins in that role, just fucking bringing it, dude.
Well, yeah, in the context that he ends up being like that, it just definitely feels very weird that it would make more sense that at the beginning he has this, like, it makes more sense after Frigga dies. That he would be more messed up or whatever, but like he's immediately an asshole and like immediately like clearly making the wrong decision and like logically it doesn't even make sense either, right? Then after Frigga dies, it would make more sense that he's just fucked up, dude. Like he hasn't had to deal with like loss like that ever, right? Like
his problem with Jane is the weird thing, right? Like
that too. He
just immediately wants Jane not.
He calls her a goat.
Not in the way kids do it these days.
No.
He's like, she's the throaty goaty.
In the worst way.
She's Thor. She is not the throaty goatee. But she is, Father. She is the throaty goatee.
You just don't understand what throaty goatee means, Father.
I saw it on TikTok. I gotta be honest with you guys. I completely forgot to look up IMDb trivia, and I'm scrolling through IMDb, and there's a lot. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just scroll and pick a random one. Here we go. You ready?
Okay.
Just tell me to stop.
Stop.
Zachary Levi is now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Extended Universe because of this movie and Shazam. Wow. Maybe that's how we do this category from now on. is you just tell me we do trivia roulette. All right, well, let's do one more. Tell me to stop when you do it.
Stop.
Odin's fate was given different answers by some of the crew. Producer Kevin Feige didn't outright answer the question, but said there are plans for him. Director Alan Taylor thought he was dead, but wanted to know how he'd end up in the sequel. And Sir Anthony Hopkins didn't have an idea and believed that he was dead. As of the release of Thor Ragnarok, Odin is alive, but dies partway through the movie. Spoilers for Thor Ragnarok, everybody. Sorry. IMDb trivia. Sorry. So yeah, that's the new way we're doing this segment is fucking random. We talked about what we didn't like, what you didn't like about the movie. Your two big problems with it.
Yeah, I'd say those are the main two things, and then I guess the villain. But like to me, these like sequels like don't really. It's more about like the progression of the main character, not the villain, because they're always a throwaway villain in the second one for sure.
Let me since you listed the problems you have with the movie, let's just go all negative right now, and then we'll come back positive.
Okay.
Kat Dennings in this movie, while not as bad as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Is still pretty bad, especially the beginning of the movie.
I'd say it's worse in the final act to me.
See, here's the thing. I remember it being worse in the final act, but I didn't have as big of a problem with it as I did. Like, when she calls Jane on her phone, and Jane's like, why did you call me? And she's like, I just wanted you to pay attention or whatever.
No, she's like, I didn't feel like yelling.
Yeah, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no way, dude. Like, I wrote in my notes, 15 minutes in, and I'm done with Kat Dennings.
My note about that is on it. Like the only thing I have that like mentions her is like honestly good ass movie, but comedy relief at the end with Kat Dennings is literally the only thing that I hate.
my other big problem. So this in Greenwich in British town. This whole shit's going down. This giant spaceship comes out of nowhere. They're opening a portal to God knows where. And you're telling me in Avengers, Loki just kind of holds some people hostage for 5 minutes and Iron Man's fucking there? But Iron Man couldn't bother showing up for this.
Well, where did he hold those people hostage at?
That was like Germany.
Oh, yeah, that's random.
Even farther away that,
Yeah.
So like to me it's like no one cared about this. And they do a better job in later movies of like, oh, this guy's busy, or you know what I mean? This movie, they give you no reason to believe that someone wouldn't at least try to show up.
Yeah.
And no one does. And that's why the whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing was so disheartening, because I was like, oh, maybe like Coulson's going to come help or something. Even like it's sad that I was sitting there going, Agent Coulson, please show up. But no, he didn't. You know, like I wanted just the littlest bit of connectivity to this fucking thing, and it didn't do it. And there's other movies you can kind of argue this, but I think this one is like the most egregious, because this is clearly like a world-ending event that immediately would be on television, immediately would be on social media, and someone would show up to help.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the only thing is that I feel like it is a really short amount of time, though.
That's true. I will say that, but I'm saying like, I don't know. I guess with the Loki thing I pointed out, they did tip them off that he was gonna be there, but it's still like, I don't know, man. I feel like Iron Man could have been there within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know? And maybe he was too busy having PTSD in Iron Man 3. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, they could have at least, like, hand-waved me away from thinking about this.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. And then, finally, my least favorite, not least favorite, but one other problem I had with this movie is the villain is terrible. And I know, like you said, it doesn't need to be that good.
Yeah.
But he needs to be better than this.
Yeah.
Them speaking, like, their elf language in the other scenes, like, is just so, like it's almost like the voiceover isn't matched up to their mouths.
I didn't notice that.
It felt like that to me. Like I felt like Malekith's voice when he speaks like in English was different than when he was doing his Elvish voice. Like I feel like it was a completely different actor.
They put a filter or something at the very least.
It just threw me off and made me not want to like pay attention in those scenes. You know, like I just was like,
I feel like
care.
those were fine to me.
I didn't really care.
I did like in the intro where he just fucking lets them all fucking crash to the ground like on some Thanos shit like.
But I don't know that they give him the motivation to make me go, because what's his. I still don't really understand what his plan was.
No, they existed before like the stars did apparently, and then they just want to fucking essentially kill all the stars like.
Right. No. I guess I misrepresented what I was trying to say. I understand what his goal is. I don't understand what his plan is, because his plan was to.
He uses the Aether while they're all
right, but they hid the
Aether
because they were waiting for the planets, the realms to align. Is that what they were waiting for?
Yeah, because he can't do anything until like his plan was just okay. Wake up a little bit before they all align, go grab the Aether, and then do it.
So why did the Aether pull Jane in then? You know what I mean?
Well, because they were aligned, and she just happened to find
She just happened to find it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just a little unclear on it. I was like, I don't really.
It makes like portals or whatever whenever they're over top of each other, and they kind of like hint. I did actually like it. The idea that whenever these things happen, that like. That's how they made Stonehenge way back then is like the rocks were like had no gravity like the truck did, and so that's how they were able to do it so far like back in time before the technology existed or whatever, right?
I will say the one thing I did like about the villains though is their fucking gravity grenades.
Those were dope.
Those were raw as fuck, and how it like fucking bend people's bones and shit.
Yep.
Those were raw as fuck. I did like those.
Yep. A lot of deaths in this were really, really raw. Like Thor just like snaps one of their necks, like just straight up.
He does. This
I was like,
true.
holy shit.
I guess let's say what we liked about the movie now. What did you enjoy about the movie?
The first thing that I really wrote down, I just love Asgard and like the scenes of it. Like the Bifrost Bridge is so fucking cool. Just like Heimdall's a fucking badass. I love him. Like where he's like running up, like he realizes that shit's there and he fucking runs up and then fucking slashes it. That shit's cool. Those action scenes were cool too.
I liked Zach Levi.
I can't unsee that it's him though. To me, it felt like when Matt Damon acts as Loki in the play.
It's like a guy.
That's how it felt to me.
I like him as. It's way better than whatever the other guy did. Like
I don't think so.
To be fair, I feel like they gave at least him and
they did
Volstagg,
all of the characters a bit better. Yeah.
They gave them more to work with. Not Hogan.
Yeah.
They said, "Yo, Hogan, you're a racist stereotype, and we're sending you to your home planet, bro. And you maybe
where
you
you
show up
belong
later
with your people." Don't know if that's good either. How you put that?
Yeah, not great. And then don't worry, next movie you're gonna die.
Brutally.
But I feel like they gave more to work with because they have the scene where they help Thor and Loki and Jane escape.
Yeah.
And Volstagg.
The writing is good. With that.
Yeah, it's much better this time around for them.
Yeah.
And you could even especially with Lady Sif, you can tell it's painting her to help Thor's girlfriend because she doesn't want Thor's girlfriend around because she wants to be Thor's girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like they give you a it's not super subtle, but it's subtle enough.
Yeah.
And she does, Jamie Alexander does a good job acting that out. And I like Zach Levi just, jumping his ass off the one flying ship into the other one. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just felt like he was...
felt too goofy to me, bro. Like,
I liked it.
It really felt like some Matt Damon Loki shit, bro. Like, I don't know, dude.
No, I respect the opinion. I'm just saying I liked it better than what they gave us in the previous movie with this guy.
Yeah, it's definitely better.
He yells at Volstagg for eating. You know what I mean? And that's it.
Yeah. Dude, the Stonehenge scene actually made me laugh out loud. That shit was just actually good, where he's just naked running around. That shit's actually funny. One thing that made me laugh, but in a bad way, is like they make the joke where they keep saying the intern instead of his name, and he's like, my name's Ian. Like, please, my name is Ian. I wrote, the sad truth about her not knowing Ian's name is that no one knows who Ian is. Like, he's just a one and done character.
I'm glad you brought Ian up, because I have one problem with Ian. At the end of the movie, you know, everything is going real crazy. Gravity is moving around, right? And there's a car floating off the ground, and he's able to lift it up and slam it down to save Darcy. Right?
Yeah.
Which the lifting I have no problem with, but it shouldn't slam down then, because the gravity is different.
I think the idea is that, like, he lifted it, like, out of the field, and then, like, it, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess.
Like, if he had moved it a little bit horizontally, but, like, you don't see that, and then, like, the gravity just takes it.
Yeah, I just felt like that it can't work both ways.
I felt like that scene worked fine. It didn't, break my suspense.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was mad at Ian and Darcy the whole time anyway. But...
Yeah. They're pretty shit anyways, so yeah.
Okay.
I thought that the Frigga's death scene and the funeral were so well done. I actually choked up a little bit.
You know why that's so effective?
Why?
Like, it's not a bad scene by any stretch. Like, they do a good job. It's the music.
Yeah, the music is so good.
Whoever wrote that, who was the... Let me look at see who the composer was. But that scene, and then they reuse that. Brian Tyler is who? What has Brian Tyler done? You know, I like to look at this shit. He's worked on Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron, but he's not the composer. He just worked in the music department. What has he composed? 2019's Charlie's Angels, Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
Now You See Me Too.
Okay.
The 2014 Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Thor: The Dark World.
Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf.
Okay. All right. So he's done some stuff. Final Destination 5.
Okay.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Let's go.
Okay.
Too Fast, Too Furious, you know? So anyway, he's an experienced composer, but he did a very good job in specifically that scene, because that music was very emotionally effective.
Yeah. Well, and then how they have it where, like, as soon as she's about to, like, go off the side, he fucking he slams his staff and she turns into, like, the stars in the sky. But then also how they also did where they show, okay, she's not the only one that's dead. They're actually mourning all of the dead. And you're like, fuck. It's so well done.
I agree.
And then also how that affects Loki too, like how he's putting up this front, like the whole room is a illusion, and then he's just sitting there like so pissed off.
I also like when the guard comes and tells him, and he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and the guard walks away, and he like just sends everything in the room fucking flying, which apparently is something he can do. But I was like, yo, that he's mad, you know, and
that show's cool. And
they did a good job of building the fact that Frigga still, you know, was supporting Loki, and probably the only person supporting Loki.
Yeah.
And Renee Russo's a great actress, and, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be sad about Frigga dying, you know.
Yeah.
But
well,
they
show that, like, she's the one that, like, shows him how to do illusions, too. Because she does the illusion. Like, that there's that connection as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool, too.
I remember watching the scene where she dies and thinking, why isn't Jane doing anything? And then remembering that it was, like, they fooled me with the illusion.
Yeah.
I was like, Jane, fucking aren't you going to be Thor in 2 movies? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and then she wasn't even there. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Got your ass.
Got me, dude. Fucking got me.
The Thor Loki stuff is so good, especially like the honestly, everything Thor Loki is so good in this movie. And that's what I really, really like, because it you could tell that this is the movie where they were able to really figure out like what their relationship is going to be, right? Because he's like, I wish I could trust you, like all this shit. When they're yelling at each other, like about like, oh yeah, like you fucking let her die and shit on the boat. Mm-hmm. And then he starts talking shit about Jane, and then he's like, she has more power than you know, type shit, right? Which is actually kind of funny, because like now she's gonna be like, I don't think they really knew it at that point, but it actually does work in that way.
Right.
And the trick scene is so good too.
And I know we're gonna see this movie soon, so it'll be answered. But I wonder if they're gonna have the Aether be a part of the reason why she's able to do that.
I could see that. Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so now that we talked about stuff we liked about the movie, what do you think is the best scene in the movie?
I mean, I was straight up smiling during like the Thor and Loki walking down the hallway, and he keeps like morphing them.
Yeah.
And then like he turns into Captain America and shit, and
yeah, that was a good bit.
That was really good. And then like that whole section of the movie is definitely my favorite, where like they let him out. There's like the where they break out. You get all those really good scenes with them helping him escape. Then you get this like emotional scenes on the boat. Then when they're fighting, they do like where they trick the audience type deal with like the Loki with the trick and everything. That's really cool. I like how it also foreshadows that the Aether is an Infinity Stone when he like hits it with lightning and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Loki died, dude, I was like, how the hell is Loki gonna make me choke up for dying again, bro? Like, how many times is this motherfucker gonna get me, dude? Like, fuck you.
I remember in the theater being like, wow, I can't believe they just killed Loki. But on a rewatch, it's so fucking obvious he's not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because they show the guard, and the guard has like the green outline that Loki has when he like changes into somebody.
He does? I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah. If you look at the guard, when they show the guard like checking in the Dark World, and then he goes back
like
to Odin and reports.
Yeah.
Right as the scene comes in, right as it pans on him, there's a green line going down his arm.
Really?
Like,
wow,
that's
I didn't
Loki's
notice
effect.
That.
And I was like, holy shit, how did I miss that the first time? Because I remember in the theater being like, when at the end, when Odin turns into Loki, I remember being like, oh shit, he's alive, right?
Yeah.
But I remember thinking in the theater, man, I can't believe they killed Frigga. Now they're killing Loki, and who else are they going to kill, you know? And then really, they just killed Frigga. But no, I think I agree with you. I think that's my favorite stretch of the movie too, where, you know, they come up with a plan. Although I do have a problem with this one thing that Thor says. Thor goes to Heimdall, and he's talking to him about it, and he goes, I cannot betray my king. And then Thor goes, I'm not asking you to betray the king. Right? And then they, like, a couple more lines are said, and then Heimdall's like, okay, what do you need? And then they start going into, like, heist planning mode, where Thor's doing, like, and he goes, so I wrote, Thor, I'm not asking you to betray the king. Also, Thor, this is treason of the highest order.
Yeah.
like, immediately, like, it changes.
Well, I think it's more like, I'm not asking you. Like, I'm going to commit it. I just need you to like do a little bit of treason.
I know. I just thought it was funny. Like, it's like, okay, he just said
honestly
that,
really like that scene where it's like a round table type deal.
Yeah, and they're explaining everything. No, that's what I'm saying.
I feel like it was shot
of the movie,
well cinematically. Yeah.
And then when they execute it, that's the best part of the movie for sure to me.
Yeah.
What's the worst part of the movie? What's the worst scene?
It's either the intro or like the very, very end where it's like crazy action, banger joke. Haha, crazy action, banger joke. Like, I actually disliked that. That's probably
I thought
the
it was
most
interesting
that I disliked
at the end that like it looked so visually similar to Thor 1, right? Except instead of Thor making the cyclone that the thing's in, Thor's like walking through the cyclone. I just thought it was interesting they did that again.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
I
true.
know it's different visually, but it's not at the same time. You know what I mean? It's the same Thor slowly walking through something and doing something that's, even though how he kills Malekith is pretty raw.
Yeah.
Like removing pieces of him and shit. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that show's crazy. And they like show his arm flop onto the Dark World. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
that part
like,
is kind of cool.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the worst part is the intro for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with the ending scene though. They needed to cut half of what Darcy was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just bad. Although I will say the one little joke bit I liked, and I told you this after I watched it, where Jane and Selvig are running through some hall, and there's people looking out the window, and she goes, what are you guys doing? You gotta get out of here. And he goes, are you kidding me? Thor's out there, and he's waving his hammer and everything. You know, and I'm just like, this fucking British guy, dude.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I mean, I don't think we need to talk much about Malekith. He's a bad villain.
Yeah, clearly a bad villain.
Probably the worst.
Yeah.
In Marvel history.
I don't know. Like, I think I actively dislike the villain in Captain Marvel. Because he's just like... You're supposed to hate him, but at the same time, I think he's just also bad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see when we revisit that one. He's definitely the worst so far that we've watched.
Oh yeah, so far definitely the worst. Yeah.
Caecilius is someone we've watched, so that's saying a lot.
Because he doesn't really end up doing anything that cool. He just charges up. That's pretty much the only thing he really does.
Yeah. Again, I think his motives are a little like
I'm evil.
Yeah, he's just I'm evil.
I'm fucking
elves, dark elves
evil.
are evil.
I'm a dark elf. I'm fucking evil. I do like the scene where they're like infiltrating Asgard, like they're flying the ships. And I'm like, this is some Star Wars ass shit, dude. Like how the ships are like flipping around and stuff to get in between the buildings and shit, and like the force field coming down and shit. I'm like, this is some Star Wars ass shit, dude. What the hell?
I think our favorite scene is kind of the best action moment too, right?
With like the getting out and the
escaping and they're flying they're trying to find Loki's shortcut and the fight leading up to it and I think that's the best action one.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, I have to be humbled here because I went on this long rant in the first Thor movie podcast where I talked about how Thor's supposed to be like a prince or a king, and then he's throwing his glass down and saying another, and you were like, Mike, it could be like a cultural thing. And I was like, I don't think so, dude. And then they made a point in this fucking movie of showing Volstagg throw this tankard down and go, another, and everybody laughs. And I was like, God damn it. I was like, you kidding me? Ass. It's almost like they reshot this scene just to be in the movie because they heard me. Fucking bullshit.
I said, fine, I'll do it myself, and I put this in the second movie.
Yeah, dude, you paid Volstagg, dude. I can't believe this. Is there anything memeable in this movie? Again, this movie's kind of before meme era.
Yeah, I don't really feel like there's much memeable, though. There's probably something you could do with, like, the Dr. Selvig running around naked or some shit, right? Also, I forgot about the scene where he's explaining. It's the I guess we'll get to it when we talk about
the Stan Lee cameo.
The cameo. Yeah.
I forgot about my favorite Selvig scene when Darcy and Ian are going to break him out, and they do the one Swedish-made penis enlargement pump scene from Austin Powers.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's pretty much that scene. It's like a British guy going, one necklace, one pair of shoes, and these, I was like, dude, they're doing the penis enlargement pump.
Pretty
and then
much.
Austin's like, that's not my bag, baby. One book titled Swedish Penis Enlargement Pump. This kind of thing is my bag, baby, by Austin Powers. But yeah, when we'll jump to that. When he's explaining everything that's going on, and you're like, who is he talking to? And then
I felt like that was a good scene as well.
He's in an insane asylum, and Stan Lee's there. Can I have my shoe back?
Mm-hmm.
Good Stan Lee cameo, dude.
Yeah, I liked it. I just like that a lot of things end up feeling very connected as well with the movie. Other than, at the end, like, where's Iron Man? He's probably supposed to be here type shit, right? Like, he probably could be here or whatever, right? Well, also, you're telling me, like, Selvig doesn't have, like... He went from being, like, brought in to work on the Tesseract or whatever to, like, oh, he got possessed by Loki, so now he's trash. We're just going to throw him away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's still a super, like, smart person or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I could
it just
see,
sounds like the PTSD got to him, really, is what
Yeah. Well, and I like how he, as it's, like, showing, like, all these crazy things, he's like, I'm not crazy, and then he throws all his like meds away, and then he's good.
Yeah. Okay, dude. I mean, is there anything else? Any other notes you got in this movie? We ran through all the categories pretty quickly. I will say, I don't think this is a very good movie, but I enjoyed rewatching it after a long time. I thought it was more redeemable than I remembered. I still think it's probably the worst Marvel movie, but we'll talk about what tier we're gonna put it in. But I enjoyed my watch. I guess I was expecting to not.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention as well is like with the whole like Thor being sad and stuff at the beginning, where like Odin is like, you can at least pretend to be happy, like take like solace in seeing your people rejoice, at least like you can at least enjoy that, right? Like that type of deal. And I do like that the sad moments for Thor in 1 felt a little bit hollow. And I think that it does lead to like, I feel like Hemsworth has just become a really good actor over time. Like when you compare it to Thor 1, like I just think he's just killer. And especially when it comes to showing like emotion without like really overacting, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
I think he's really good at subtle acting in that way. It's way more believable. And it really, like when I put this into context of the whole Thor character arc, it really makes me like Thor a lot more. Even though like I've always loved Thor, like Thor is one of my favorite characters. Like I would always have, I picked him in like the new Marvel's Avengers game that Square Enix did. Like I love Thor, dude. And it makes me like him even more. Like putting in, and especially because it feels like there is a lot of parallels between like shit that happens in Ragnarok, shit that happens in Endgame and Infinity War, all that type of shit. So yeah, I think it's, I really like the movie. The only other thing that we haven't really talked about that I had in my notes is just a small thing where like, it's funny that I feel like fake Odin at the end, where it's really Loki, he feels like he acts more like the real Odin.
Really? You think so?
Or like how he is in the first movie. I was like, how the hell is fake Odin acting more like Thor 1 Odin? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it would make sense because it's not like Loki is seeing him like transition from like having grief or whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I felt like he was still off to me. I think there's something wrong with Anthony Hopkins during the shooting. You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I still felt he was off.
Also, there's that rock monster at the beginning. I was like, hey, yo, why they got Korg in this movie, bro? It looks just like Korg.
I think they've confirmed that Korg is the same species as that rock monster.
Oh.
I think they have confirmed that.
That's funny.
But yeah, that first scene's pretty... I consider that scene as part of the bad intro, too.
I felt like that scene was all right. It is very similar to in Thor 1. And it's like, he's cleaning up the realms. Like, it doesn't have to be this crazy scene to me, because it's just like, okay, here's what happened from Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, this is what Thor was doing. It's just not it's not that deep to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that part's better than the intro.
Only slightly. Anyway, Jason, we ranked this originally in the dog shit tier.
I don't think it's dog shit.
It was the only movie that was in dog shit. We put What If in there just because we weren't going to plan on covering that. So what do you think of The Dark World? I agree with you that it is not dog shit.
I like it more than Eternals, straight up.
You like it more than Eternals. I don't know that I do.
Like I would say like compare first acts. I feel like it's kind of a wash to me because I don't really like the first act of Eternals either. Like second act, like if you put it into like 3 acts or whatever, right? I feel like second act definitely goes to Thor to me, because the whole fucking Eternals, like, this is what's happening, oh my god, and then they got the whole like, yo, I'm not gonna do it, and then they do that like twice in a row. They have 2 holdout characters, like all this shit. It's ridiculous. So I think Thor's way better in that way. And then I also think that the ending of Eternals, like especially with like the fucking monster, like not helping that, like there's just like so much where I'm just like, this is bad in my opinion. So I would give it 2-1 to Thor. Like,
I would argue that the endings of these movies are closer than what you're saying, because I think Eternals, while there's some confusing things in it, is very visually striking, and it's
visually striking,
pretty cool.
I think if Thor 2, I think that's just more like because it's a newer movie, in my opinion.
Right.
I think Thor 2,
I
if
don't
it
mean
was
just
done...
visually striking. I mean the action looks better. Like I don't think anything about the fight between Thor and Malekith was that cool, except for the way he dispatches of him.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just kind of like
that's because
they're
it's
just kind
an
of
older
playing
movie.
Portal. You know what I mean? And and I at least prefer like Icarus trying to laser beam people to death and a celestial coming out of the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think we're at. I'll agree it's in C tier. I think it jumps from dog shit to C. I don't know that I want to put it in front of Eternals though. I'm torn.
I would put it in front of Eternals like easily, and not even on some recency bias shit. Like easily, I put it in front of Eternals. The only thing that I really like in Eternals more so is like that there's like there's a lot of mystery to it and like how it's going to affect the rest of the. Because obviously we don't know like what's happening after, whereas like with this we know, yeah, that Aether was an Infinity Stone and like all this shit, like what are the consequences of this movie, whereas we don't really know that with Eternals. But like if I take that out of it, I don't know, I just felt like when it comes to how the characters are, I don't know how to put it, like with Thor and Loki especially, like they're obviously like the main two characters. It's like Thor, Loki, and Jane at like the very top, right? Like right. I feel like it means like it is this movie is very important to their characters, and I like that it made it so that we went like especially going from Thor 1 to Thor 2. I think I don't know, I feel like especially with how their characters interact, I like it a lot more.
I'm going to give Jason the win here. We're going to put Thor the Dark World just in front of Eternals in C tier.
Sean's malding, but...
Sean, I tried.
Sean is absolutely malding.
I tried Sean, but Jason has a way more passionate argument than mine. It's just, I think Eternals is a little better. Like, I don't care that much. So we're going to let Thor go ahead of Eternals. So that leaves going into our next movie, our tier list, which is S tier is Spider-Man No Way Home and Iron Man. A tier is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
B tier is Doctor Strange, followed by the original Thor. Okay. C tier is Thor the Dark World, followed by Eternals. So that is we have ranked 7 movies.
Wow.
So I guess my question for you is, Jason, we got to do Ragnarok before we do Love and Thunder, right? I just think we can't. Yeah, so we're going to try to have a quick turnaround here on Love and Thunder, or on Ragnarok.
I think we can, easily.
I think we can. And then we're not seeing Love and Thunder immediately when it comes out. We're going to see it later that next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because our sister works at a movie theater and she gets free family nights, so we're going to take advantage of that. Yeah. And then we will record that. So we're going to try to... get Love and Thunder out pretty or not Love. God, I keep doing that. Ragnarok out pretty quick.
I'm excited. I liked that movie so much.
I've seen Ragnarok way more than either of the other 2 Thor movies because it's one of my favorites, and so I don't know that anything's gonna change about my feelings of it, but I'm still excited to watch it because I like the movie a lot. Big fan of Ragnarok, and
where do we?
It's in.
All right, never mind. We'll talk about that later.
Well, where did we put Ragnarok?
Yeah,
is S tier.
Okay, yeah.
It was S tier.
It's way up there for me. Again, I'm
S6.
a Thor stan, dude. If like you got if the people listening are like, boo, Jason, boo, there's no way the Dark World is better than Eternals, boo, I'll take that L, dude, because it's like I know I'm a Thor stan. Okay,
fair enough.
That's fine.
We ranked Ragnarok originally S6 behind the Endgame and Infinity War, No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers.
Yeah. I feel like it's not going to really change much, but I'm excited to watch it and talk about it.
For sure. But yeah, and then we'll do the new Love and Thunder after that. I know we were saying we were going to try to fit Moon Knight in, but we just ran out of time. It's been a busy summer for me. We'll watch Moon Knight, I promise. We'll watch Miss Marvel. It's almost like we're not keeping up with the new releases, Jason.
Yeah, we're going
it's almost like
slow.
We're drowning. We're drowning in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's actually insane how often they pump out these like really good ass movies. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and TV shows
and shit. Yeah, like,
I've only watched a couple episodes of Moon Knight, and I liked it so far, and I heard it's good. And then people have been raving about Miss Marvel if they're not like a racist bigot. So, and I'm not one of those. So I'm pretty excited for Miss Marvel. You know, I'm not a.
I like to
Star
watch the
Wars
shows
fan.
when they're completely out, so I still need to watch.
Moon Knight.
I still need to watch Moon Knight, and then I'm gonna watch Miss Marvel when it's all out.
And then we got What If sitting here, and I think if we ever catch up, we should probably watch What If, because while I don't think it's directly been made canon by Multiverse of Madness, one of my favorite episodes is a Doctor Strange episode that could relate to Multiverse of Madness.
Mm.
And I just think it's an interesting show. I don't know where we'd rank it, but we definitely won't be doing the uncanon shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the lot. But yeah, no, we're just kind of rambling now about Marvel stuff. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time for Ragnarok, followed by Love and Thunder. And yeah, Jason, the thing you say.
Excelsior.
There it is. Bye, everybody. All right, Jason, post-credit scenes.
Dude, I just realized I didn't watch it because
What?
I had to go when I watched the movie.
Look it up real quick.
I'm watching it right now. Yeah. I wish they would have had some type of scene where like they show like someone trying to steal some shit from the collector or something, and like just showing that like that's how the shit actually is safe. Because like to me, it's like what the fuck? Like he's just got like this red chick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was before Guardians, obviously, and I don't think they were sure. They didn't know what the set was gonna look like for the collector, so they just kind of threw something together.
Yeah,
and then they put Adam Warlock's cocoon in it to have people go, "Pog!" And then that's apparently Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We're finally having Adam Warlock involved, So the first one, the mid-credit scene, is Lady Sif and is it Volstagg?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's not Zachary Levi, it's Volstagg. And
Yeah,
they are bringing the Aether, also known as the Stone of Power. Wait, no, that's not the Stone of Power.
The Stone of Reality.
Stone of Power. Stone of Reality to the Collector. I was trying to think of his name. Tyrinius. The fuck is the collector's name? He has a stupid name. Tanelier Tavan, the collector. And this is the first time we get to meet the collector. He shows up later in a couple movies, one being Guardians of the Galaxy, which comes out a movie or two after this. And we get to see Benicio del Toro doing Benicio del Toro things.
Yeah.
He does a weird bow and he's like going like making weird fucking noises with his mouth and shit. I don't understand him because he does in the fucking Star Wars movie. He does like the weird stutter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's this guy's deal? Just do the regular voice. But They offer it to him, and he tells them that it'll be safe there. And then he secretly, after they leave, goes, 5 more to go, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, shit.
And you're like, oh, he's going to be collecting them. And interestingly enough, there's a pod with Adam Warlock's cocoon in it, and so people were freaking out about that.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember, actually, I think you telling me about that or something like that.
Yeah.
Like way back then.
And we still haven't seen Adam Warlock in a Marvel movie, which apparently the guy from fucking We're the Millers is playing Adam Warlock. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Will Poultier? I don't know how you say his last name. What else has he been in?
The guy with the eyebrows.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy with the eyebrows.
Yeah.
He's playing Adam Warlock, apparently.
Okay.
In
I'm messed with
Guardians of
it.
the Galaxy 3. Yeah. But if you see him in We're the Millers, you don't. You know what I mean? Like he's a...
Yeah. Or if you see him in Narnia, yeah.
The cover art for We're the Millers has an arrow pointing at him, and it says Virgin. So...
Got his ass.
Yeah, I got him. Anyway, so that's basically that scene, and then the post-credit scene, you know how I was, like, reveling in people's anger over the Multiverse of Madness credit scene? Post-credits one? How people were mad that it was just like, it's over, right? This is the one that I mauled it at. This is the one that I was fucking angry, because I sat through this movie that I didn't like, okay, and I was expecting something cool, and then it's Thor coming back to Earth and kissing Jane, and then the fucking animal that got loose, and he's chasing the birds, LOL. I was so angry about this post-credit scene, dude. I was so mad about it.
Well, I also think it's just like the most cliche-est shot of all time, too.
Well, and then when you consider that it doesn't have any lasting effect on anything, because by the time we see Thor again, it's Age of Ultron, and he makes some like weird comment like they're not together anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck is this? Right? Mm-hmm. And they didn't know, I mean, from what it sounds like, is Natalie Portman didn't want to be in any movies at the time.
Yeah.
So they didn't know she was going to do that, but still, it's very strange. And it's just a very like throwaway post-credits scene.
Yeah. I just think it's like, it's such a cliche thing. It's like, oh, everybody sees it first, and then she sees it, and she does the turnaround shot to the camera, and then you see the glow on her face, and then the slow-mo walk up into the kiss. Like it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty bad.
I do like the thing chasing the birds, though. I like that.
See, I was even more mad about that, which is so funny that I was that mad. Because I was like, oh, but now they're gonna show something like hideous or something like evil happening, like to like tease us. No, it's just the fucking.
It's really Loki. Oh my god!
Right? Or like, oh, there was poison in her cereal, or some shit like that. But no, we just get the fucking animals jumping around chasing birds. I don't know, dude.
I mean, there could be, dude. There could have been.
I do understand how ridiculous it is that I was mad about that. I get that now, but at the time I was angry.
Yeah, dude, it was a long time ago, dude.
And then I was like, okay, well maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has the thing, and then that didn't do anything for me either. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the scenes. Bye, everybody.